13th of October 2016. The birth of a new Skylanders game, but at the same time, the death of the franchise. Skylanders was a pretty big franchise consisting of 6 games and multiple spin-offs and Netflix shows. But how can a game this big seemingly disappear from the face of gaming as a whole? To explore the downfall of Skylanders, we first need to begin with the rise of it. Skylanders Spyros Adventure. The greatest Skylanders game in my personal opinion. This game had a really good plot.
Master Eon? Anyone? And that was the day the core of light was scattered to the far corners of the universe, and Skylands lost its greatest protectors.
The game had decent humor.
What happened to your head? It looks ridiculous. What?
My head is awesome, I tell you! Fear it! Fear my giant floating head!
See? I told you the head isn't scary enough.
Silence, Clubshanks!
You're spoiling my evil mood.
The characters introduced were so wide and pretty good.
We gotta save her so she can get on with more important things, like thanking me.
Hey, look at me. Actually, I'm a bodies half full kind of guy.
And overall, this game was pretty good, with the main objective being you repairing the core of light throughout different missions and collecting every elemental source. Activision, seeing the success of Skylanders, made another one. I won't delve too much into Skylanders Giants, apart from it, again, being a really good game, minus the obvious increase in the Skylanders prices. In Spyros Adventure, you could get a Skylander for a measly £5, but in Giants, if you want a big flashy Skylander, it'll only cost you around £15. It's only £10 extra for a slightly bigger version of the same Skylander. But again, other than that, this game lived up to its expectations and was nearly as good as the first game. It even had this singing, rapping robot. Because you know, why not? And not to mention the insane boss battle at the end of the game, which was...
Now you attract Sky Blunderer, and neither Eon nor any of your idiot friends can save you now.
Why don't you pick on someone your own size?
This of Arcus sealed me from this fool.
But again, overall rating, I'll give Skylanders Giants a solid 9 out of 10. And next in line comes Skylanders Swap Force. This game, in my honest opinion, is where Skylanders started to, tip off a little bit. The characters got more expensive, but the ability to swap with other Skylanders and then create unique ones was pretty cool. Now, for many, this game might be their favourite, it might be good, but I just really don't see it topping Giants or Spyro's Adventure. And even the last boss battle is a bit of a joke.
Super evil chaos.
Overall, this game was pretty mediocre. The best I'd give it is a 6. I don't really know, it felt like Activision just stepped down and didn't put as much effort into this game as they did the other two. It was also at this time where a new studio got involved with Activision on the production of Skylanders. This could be one of the reasons why Skylanders has had its eventual downfall. After doing some research on this video, I came across a Skylanders subreddit. On this subreddit, I found some juicy information. There was a post on this subreddit where you could ask questions to previous producers of Skylanders, and this is what they had to say. On a serious note, we were on a 2-year development cycle, and Activision wanted to get a game every year. So Vicarious Visions was added to the team to do Swap Force and then Superchargers. So Subob had some input and then did some work on Swap Force. Superchargers was entirely Vicarious Visions. To sum up, if you didn't know, Activision just mainly works on Call of Duty these days. So to get help with their new and upcoming game Skylanders, they added Vicarious Visions to the production team. And these guys helped a little bit on Swap Force, compared to the old developers that were usually helping on it. So this is why, in my opinion, Swap Force was a little bit of a downgrade compared to the other previous games. And on their point on Superchargers, we'll come back to that later on in the video. I also think a main problem for the Skylanders franchise was Activision rushing and wanting to get a game out every year. I mean, we went 6 years straight with a Skylander game every year with tons of new characters, a massive new plot. And I think that's what eventually brung Skylanders' quality down. Activision focused more on quantity over quality, and that did not favour Skylanders very well. Moving on from Swap Force surprisingly brings a better game. And now we're back on track. Skylanders Trap Team seemingly picked itself up from what Swap Force left over and was a really good game. It introduced the new ability to trap villains and players them, meaning you can literally play as Chaos.
Not the boss of me!
You can capture him in a crystal trap,
Maybe you are!
then send him back to fight for you.
So yeah, that was pretty cool. They also added Trap Masters, but these characters were insanely overpriced. Like, wow. And you needed them to unlock special elemental gates, and you just needed the Trap Masters as a whole. You couldn't use your old Skylanders, meaning most of the content is locked behind these massive price tags that you need to get in the real world. Other than that, really good game. I really enjoyed it, and it seemingly picked up on the mistakes that Swap Force made and improved on them. So yeah, this was a really good game. Solid rating of another 9 out of 10. And now we start the real downfall of Skylanders. Skylanders Superchargers was seemingly the beginning of the downfall for Skylanders. Not gonna lie, loads of people judge Superchargers for its story and everything, but honestly, in my opinion, it's a pretty good story. The only major thing about this game is cars? Really? You needed these special Supercharger cars and everything just to access new content in the game. You couldn't use your old Skylanders to get in a car and drive around everywhere. So that was a pretty big letdown of the game, and mainly focusing on the point I made back in Swap Force, Vicarious Visions fully produced this game. Fully. No more Spyros Adventures Giants Swap Force producers on this. Fully Vicarious Visions. That was a big no. In my opinion, this game really showed the rushed effects of Skylanders and what happens if you rush a game like Activision is doing. I mean, this game did have one really good thing about it, the soundtrack. I mean, just listen to this music. But yeah, that's the only good thing that Superchargers really brung in my eyes, and the overlooked story, but like, it didn't compare to Giants or Spyros Adventure or Trap Team. Any of those three, it did not even come close to. This officially marks the beginning of Skylanders' death. Moving on to the next game of Skylanders, which fully pinned a nail in the coffin. We are Skylanders Imaginators, the final installment of the Skylanders franchise, and pretty much its death. Imaginators was just a massive letdown. It sold the least amount of product in any Skylander game. Like, it sold, I remember, like around 200 to 300,000, and that's it? Like, really? And the game itself was just a massive letdown compared to other Skylander games where you actually had a kind of an open world before you started missions. This game, sure, it might have been a bit bigger, but it was so lackluster. Like, you were speed walking through all these different sections that were just clumped up together. Like, well, I mean, this is clumped up together. This is just my opinion, but I hated this style of format for this Skylander game, and it was completely different to the other installments and was just not really fitting for Skylanders in my opinion. It seemed like Activision just threw whatever they have left into the story and just made it the most less impactful story of the whole franchise. It was just a horrible story. The only good thing they improved on was obviously the graphics, but I mean, Chaos, he looks like he de-aged somehow. Like, before, he looked like 15, now he looks 2. Having villains as playable Skylanders though, that was kind of good, but the senseis and all these classes of villains were just so overpriced. Like, it was a reoccurring theme with every game. The characters got more expensive, up until it was just ridiculous. With this game being released in 2016, having no other clear competitors, and this game was released at the end of the Toys to Life trend. Trends come and go, and Toys to Life was pretty much gone by now, with Skylanders being the only game left in that category. With the trend gone and not many people wanting to play Skylanders or purchase extra toys for it, Skylanders just died in a matter of a few years. No one would even talk about it anymore. This game would go forgotten, but remained one of the most nostalgic games in history. Now, are Activision blamed for the death of Skylanders? Yes. But actually no. It's mainly the Toys to Life genre being dead, because nobody nowadays wants to buy something just to play a game. I mean, unless you're talking about in-game purchases, which Imaginators also sold out to. They added in-game purchases. Like, why? But I also think it was part of Activision's fault for adding Vigorous Visions to the producing team. Like, before they were introduced, all the other games were spectacular and amazing. Spyros Adventure through to Trap Team minus Swap Force were just absolute god tier games. And does Skylanders have the ability to come back and be successful again? Well, you never know.